Hi, this is Lorraine, and I'm doing another video. If you'll give me just a few minutes to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. So, I asked, where should I start? And so they said, start at the beginning. I'm like, okay. So, I'm just gonna read a few things that I wrote in my journal and then expand on that. But the last video I did, I asked them not to bow because it just makes me feel uncomfortable. And so as I'm clearing my energy and asking for help to please help me maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy, please help me to truly be a paladin of love and light. Please help me to shine my light bright out onto the world. Every time I made a request, they'd bow. So I guess the request was just an exercise in futility. Or I think actually the message was, there's going to be some things that you're going to have to just get used to. And there's no way around it. So I'll just receive that message and then just add that to my requests for help, affirmations, and then things I'm grateful for. That's just part of my routine of what I do to help me maintain focus, set intentions, and be grateful for the things I have. So I'm going to just start at the beginning. And so what I've been dealing with a lot in the first few days of the week, Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, just a lot of fatigue. So I don't get a lot of messages on those days, and I've just noticed this in the last few weeks, that the messages normally start coming in on Wednesdays, just because I'm so tired on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, just because of my work schedule. And so on July 27th, the message came in, there is no or very little separation between me and the divine. My thoughts are mine, guided by the divine. My body responses are mine, inspired by the divine. I am reconciled through the divine. I am one, unified always, never apart. I am so connected, I feel everything. This connection disconnects me from everything. It alienates me. Thus, being connected to everything makes me feel more disconnected than ever. Then the response I get from when I'm sharing these emotions and asking for help is, the others must reconnect with you. At this time, they remain unaware of the necessity of connectivity. Those on this world who become aware and start to consciously connect with the divine will alleviate your feeling of alienation. This is another perspective of transcendence. Fear, insecurity, bitterness, etc. blocks their ability to connect. You have done all you can. The onus is on them to find their way back to the source, the creator of all things. Now you merely hold the door open for them. And then they sent me a message about my friend, just letting me know he's going to transcend. Then on July 30th, I'm losing track, or I'm releasing this idea of linear time. I can tell by the way I'm recalling information. And so when I was watching the last video and editing it, I was noticing that I would say, oh, this was like a month ago or a couple months ago, and it was actually a year ago when I made the video. And then I started thinking about other things in my life and how I perceive time and how I recall events. And I'm like, I'm not recalling that type of information the same way I used to. Everything is very recent or a very long time ago. Then I start to wonder how this will affect my ability to relate to others. So there's no middle. Like everything just happened a week or a month ago, or it happened a year or 5 years ago. So I look at markers in my life now. I don't really look at time. I'm either when I had my spiritual awakening, when I was a kid, or like a month ago. That's kind of how I'm seeing things. So I'm looking at kind of markers or events in my life to figure out when it was. But then, even in those moments, I kind of lose track of years. I have to kind of start, it's like doing math with my fingers. Really, I think that's kind of a really good analogy. It's like looking at the past or even the future. It's like going back to doing math with my fingers, adding and subtracting, okay? So I said, then I start to wonder how this will affect my ability to relate to others. The answer, as I'm thinking these things, was it won't. The effects will be most profound when we consciously connect to one another through the collective consciousness. Then we will become powerful manifestors in the universe. As we release time, connect with one another, and drive from the heart center, we will be able to begin the transition of the universe. The pebble will drop, and the first ripple will begin its journey. There is much trepidation on what direction we will take this universe, which is why it is so important to have every being in the universe, universe's DNA represented in the physical bodies of humanity. So we will be affecting the future of the universe, okay? The way we will be able to manifest because we carry the depth and breadth of emotions. No other planet, no other world, no other beings in the universe carry the depth and breadth of emotions that we do. There are other beings in the universe that have emotions, but not to the extent that we do. And what has been discovered on this world with humans on Earth being able to access the full depth and breadth of emotions on the material plane, we can access the full depth and breadth of unconditional love on the material plane in the universe. On the other side, in a dual universe, we can access the depth and breadth of the opposite of fear, of anger, resentment, hate, okay? And so to manifest from unconditional love, we can create ultimate beauty in the universe, and we can transcend the universe as a whole from unconditional love, from the divine source, and complete this incarnation of the divine. because as we each have individual incarnations throughout our existence in this universe, you can perceive it as this universe as one incarnation in whole, in totality of the divine. So as we transition the universe, divinity, God, the source of all creation, unity, will experience one incarnation and one lesson, I guess, in its existence, in who it is, okay? And so theoretically, technically, it can go the negative also. So this could be a negative wave going out into the universe and transcending this universe in negativity, right? But that's not going to happen, which is why it was so important. Everything that happened on this world was so important to help this world transition into love and light, okay? Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Let's see. Why it is so important for every being in the universe. So, and let me just add that because this world will transition the whole universe, all beings in the universe, it is very important for every being in the universe to be represented on this world. So it has some say. Each energy, each being, each collective is represented in each human, each being on this world, and has a say in how the universe transcends, okay? And so also I have discussed the Zeta Reticuli in the past. And so this goes to how all beings' DNA will be represented in the DNA of humanity. Their DNA has been integrated into our DNA, but the DNA of energies still manifesting from the negative polarity who have not brought balance into their collective will not be present until they have transcended to balance. Okay, so even though the Zeta Reticuli, their DNA is represented in our DNA, has been integrated into our DNA, it will not manifest. None of the properties within that DNA will manifest through us until they, as a collective, have raised their vibration and transcended to a higher level of consciousness from a place of balance. And once they have fulfilled that obligation, which we all must fulfill, their DNA will manifest in our DNA, and they will be represented in the universe through us as we on this world help transcend, send the ripple out into the universe to transcend the universe, okay? Because we will be integral in how the universe transcends, okay? This power to manifest from the full depth and breadth of emotion is profound in this universe. And that's why there's a little trepidation from other beings in the universe about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Because we will be influencing every world. Eventually, we will be influencing every world in the universe, okay? And so what's really important to understand, because there's so much perception about the negative polarity and the darkness that is manifested from the negative polarity, and people can be incited by it, and they can become so negative, so angry, so bitter, and so resentful, and then they hold on to it and they want revenge, you know, they want retribution, they want to cause damage or pain or hurt to this negative polarity. But violence begets violence. Okay? Darkness brings about more darkness. And we cannot address those issues, what they're manifesting in the world, in the universe, with more negativity. Okay? My past does not define me. This moment, right now, tells you everything you need to know, because only this moment exists. There is only now. Okay? There's only right now. If we dwell on the past, if we hold on to the past, we keep manifesting the past. We keep manifesting that energy. We need to allow people the opportunity to change. We cannot continue to define them by their past. And so I was watching Messiah on Netflix. And so the character that plays the Messiah, the character that is the Messiah in the show, has this beautiful energy about him, says some really beautiful, profound things that really makes people think, right? Think about themselves, think about what's going on in the world around them, think about what's going on in their life. And then I think of the last 2 episodes of the season, they bring about this whole idea of magician, that he was a magician, he was a scam artist as a youth, right? To create doubt. They need to create doubt. This negative polarity cannot have you believe in something, cannot have something presented in front of you without creating doubt. And at first I was a little bit miffed that they had to bring in that component. But in a previous video I had said, to truly believe, we first must doubt. And once we've doubted, and we've answered all the questions that we have, and then we reconcile the truths that we found and that we've come to believe, that faith becomes even stronger in that thing that we doubted. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we can't define this character by its past, by things that it was exposed to in its childhood that it had no control over. Why can't people believe, we believe, or viewers believe, or the characters in the movie that are trying, or a TV show which are trying to prove that he's a fraud, why can't they believe that the traumas that he suffered as a child taught him the value of honesty, sincerity, trustworthiness, integrity? Why can't they believe that what he experienced taught him that that's not who he wants to be, and he decided to change? Okay, people change. People need to be given the opportunity to change. People need to be encouraged to change. People need to be supported in their transition, and people need to be believed that they've changed. This is something that's very difficult for many people to accept. And this is something that the negative polarity uses, this negative energy uses to get people to constantly doubt or condemn others. We condemn them by their past. Now, that's not to say that someone who's done something questionable or horrible or harmful to another shouldn't be held accountable. We need to hold people accountable, absolutely, for what they've done. And then there's a whole process of self-awareness, remorse, forgiveness, asking for forgiveness, that people need to go through in this process of healing and change, and then create the change in their life. And then we work with that person to help them maintain that change. So it's not like, oh, they did this horrible thing, oh, it's okay, and move on. There's a whole process behind it, right? But we need to allow them the opportunity to go through the process and create the change, and then be that change, and then live their life from that place of change, and accept that change, accept them for who they are, this new person, allow them to become a new person, okay? And that goes back to the Zeta Reticuli. They will go through their own transition, create the change they need as a collective, eventually transcend, and then become, their DNA will become active in our DNA. Okay, it's already an integral part of our DNA, but it will become active, and they will be allowed to transcend with the universe, okay, as a whole, not just as a collective, but as a whole, with divinity, with unity, okay? So this is, okay, and then today, I was, Gracie, my peace lily, was like, okay, I need some water. I need to be, actually, she was like, I need to be fertilized. So she's like, I need to be cared for, right? And she says, Gracie said to me, if you fertilize me and care for me proper, I'll flower for you. So she had been kind of sending these subtle messages to me. And then I was kind of saying, in a minute, right? And then so she comes back and says, if you fertilize me and care for me proper, I'll flower for you. And she said it with a southern accent. So there were two messages in there. The message that followed was, people are like plants. If you fertilize and care for them properly, give them what they need, they will flower. They will prosper. And so the message was for the whole of humanity. If we care for people properly and we fertilize them with whatever they need, give them that extra thing, whatever it is that they need, because we're all individual, we're all different, and we all need different things, they will flower. They will prosper. And so with the southern accent, it was talking about a friend of mine who is kind of struggling right now. So the message was, if he is fertilized and cared for properly, he will flower. He will heal and he will flower. At this time, humanity is being directed. They are being directed and tainted through the media, education system, social, economic, political, and judicial systems. You are also being polarized. We as a collective are also being poisoned, not polarized. You are also being poisoned in your food, energetically and physically, through the torture of animals, as well as the genetic modification of all vegetation. And so if we are cared for, if we are fertilized and cared for properly, we will flower. Well, right now, this negative polarity on this world that's trying to hold control, maintain control, is doing everything in its power to prevent us from being fertilized and cared for and flowering. They are toxifying our water, toxifying our food, whether it be meat, protein, or plants. Everything they can possibly do, they're doing to try to keep that light energy dim, and keep us tainted, keep us in fear, keep us in insecurity psychologically, but also physically with what we're ingesting into our body, keeping us unhealthy, keeping us toxic, physically toxic, as well as mentally toxic. And I keep on seeing gnats, and one just flew in front of me, and I think I posted blog about gnats. I think I'm going to put that in the description, because it's about the decomposition and the transformation that happens, and the role that gnats and flies play in that decomposition and transition. Because that's basically what we're going through. We're going through a decomposition of this world, and from that, all the things that are decomposed, it will fertilize and bring about new growth. Okay. So the mantis beings now know why they are driven to help in merging our DNA with other beings in the universe. They have a clear vision of their purpose on a universal scale. Shambhalaya is the mantis being collective that I communicated with over a year ago. This drives them harder to work harder in integrating the DNA into humanity's DNA. Radiance, that's the Alpha Draco collective that came through around the same time as Shambhalaya came through. Radiance sees how the infrastructure of our society has been broken down and sees their role in its rebuilding. The raptors will model this structure, for it is the reptilians who represent the foundations of society, the infrastructure of a healthy collective. Healthy communities, meaning the family, the community, the city, the state, the country. Okay, if you look at that, that's what the reptilian energies are in the universe for. They are very their structures are very solid, and it is their gift. Just like the mantis beings, their gift is this DNA and this this understanding of how to integrate and work with the foundation, one of the major foundations in the universe. There is the DNA, which is human, or the physical being of a being in the universe. There is the golden mean, the Fibonacci spiral, that is the foundation on a molecular level, but also in plants, flowers, solar systems, right? It's on a micro and a macro scale. And so that's probably why these two beings are so integrated in our society, or have been so present, even though we are not aware of it. Most humans on the earth are not aware of it. The mantis beings and the reptilians have been very present and very integrated on a positive and a negative scale here on our planet. These epiphanies for all the beings of love and light empower the transcendence of not only this world, but also marks a milestone for this universe as a whole. This negative polarity fighting to maintain its hold on this world will not just let go. Everything is in place for this energy, the followers of the negative polarity, to start their final push for control. Okay, so everything they need is in place for them to make their final push to try to maintain control of this world. The root in its nature will continue to be divisiveness, but will be coupled with extreme oppression, brutality, abuse, and persecution. So they're going to keep doing what they've done, they're just going to amp it up. And the oppression, brutality, abuse, and persecution is just going to become blatant. It's just going to be, they're not going to try to hide it anymore. They're not going to try to, they're going to have to remove their masks, let's put it that way, and show you who they truly are in order to make this final push. And so it is going to be so present, and that's part of revelation. The truth must be revealed so that people know what's going on. Revelation, revealing, okay? They need to know what's happened and see the truth. And then the healing can begin. So from that place, will you find your voice or will you yield? Each must make their own decision. Most already have. Once this final push is complete, the source of this negativity will have exhausted itself and its resources, and providence will be the way of Mother Earth. Be born every minute. See the world through new eyes with every new perception, process, vision. Expand, grow, change, believe, build. And so, one of the things I've said, but I don't know if people really pick up on, is when I talk about the summer triangle, when I first started doing videos, one of the first things, when I first moved to Seattle, I lived in a house and I had no light source in my bedroom, and I kept on, at night, I kept on seeing stars on my wall and planes, shifting planes of existence. And it took me a really long time to figure out what the stars were, what the constellations were, because I don't know astronomy at all. And one of the first things I noticed was the summer triangle, which is an asterism. And so when I started doing the channeling on video, I would see these beings of love and light, these beings in the universe, and they would identify themselves as beings from the summer triangle. So I would say beings from the summer triangle, and then eventually, as I was creating the videos, I saw these half circle, the semicircle of beings who said they were from the summer triangle, and then it just, so there was one single front row, let's just say, a semicircle of beings, and then all of a sudden I could see past them, and it was just went back for infinity, just beings. And what I realized is they called themselves the summer triangle, and what it represented was all the beings in the universe. So I say that when I say I'm talking about the summer triangle, when I see the summer triangle, that represents all the beings in the universe. Well, when you talk about all the beings of the universe, you talk about the collective of divinity. You talk about the collective of unity. You're talking about unity. Unity, divinity, the source of all creation, is showing me all its individual parts, let's say. All its individual collectives through each individual being, representing each individual world or existence. And so I just wanted to say that out loud because I don't think I've actually ever said that out loud. And then they said, I love you, we love you. And so I'm just going to take a minute to clear my energy again and see if anything comes, okay? So one of the things I was going to say that I was reminded of was one of the things, I've said it in the past, but one of the things I do is so when I said in the beginning, I'm connected, I feel everything. This connection disconnects me from everything. It alienates me. one of the things I've said in past videos is I always maintain my connection to the divine all the time. And so whenever I'm communicating with people, that I'm always bringing in that information, and I'm always using that knowledge and wisdom as I engage people all day. I can't separate myself from it anymore. And I did, so one of the things I did when I first started learning how to meditate was I was told, oh, you need to make sure you're only connecting with higher level beings because the lower level beings can manipulate. So one of the things I started doing when I was meditating was I would ask for divinity, my angels and guides, to help me maintain a clear connection, and also to keep a protective bubble, a field around me, so that I'm protected from these lower level manipulative energies, right? And so I think that might be what kind of inspired that torsion field that I talked about in the last video. I think that might be what inspired that vision that I have now, that I started using while I meditated to protect my energy when I am out and about, or when I'm doing readings. I protect my energy and the person I'm doing a reading for, and I protect our energy together. It's just something I've gotten into that routine of doing. So I feel like that first request started me on my path of maintaining this connection like all the time. And then I just learned when I started walking. When I moved to Seattle, I walked, bike and bus everywhere because I sold my car. And I just found that whenever I walked places, I would always follow my intuition. And one of the examples I gave is like when I'm downtown and I walk to the bus stop, because 3rd Street is where all the bus stops are, downtown Seattle. You can get most of the bus stops. And so I would go from wherever I was. I'd either go straight to 3rd and walk up, or I could zigzag. But however I chose to walk to whatever bus stop I was going to, I would always listen to my intuition, because I knew I was either supposed to be someplace or supposed to avoid someplace. And I wouldn't know until either I ran into the person I was supposed to run into, and if I was avoiding something, I wouldn't know because I avoided it, right? But I would always connect and always listen to my intuition as I'm walking, biking, busing around town. And so at this stage, at this point, I am always connected, and I'm always listening to divine guidance, and I'm always maintaining an open channel, which is why it's very important to always maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy. When I find myself moving out of center, to like acknowledge it and move myself back into center, because I always want to be acting and responding from a balanced place. And if I go way out, like if I get upset and I'm angry, frustrated, to really acknowledge that, nip it in the bud, and recenter myself. And that just has become my discipline, is always to maintain that center. And those transcending have to be very conscious of that, because there is no room, this message came in really strong today, there is no room for, there's a very little margin of error that will be allowed, okay, because we will be manifesting and transitioning the universe. We can't be going on extremes of emotions, right? We have to stay close to center. And so that's why this whole phase that we're going through of revelation, of tribulation and revelation, that's why this whole phase of letting this negative polarity come in so strong and do its damage and do these ungodly deeds was so important, because we needed to be tested. We needed to be tested on the most extreme levels possible before we could be allowed to transcend. And that's why Zago's here also, because if this planet needed to be neutralized, he was here to do it. it would have to be neutralized. This planet would not be allowed to transcend or move and stay in darkness and manifest that darkness in the universe. It would not be allowed. And that's why I've said in the past that Zako's like this police in the universe. He was created for a purpose. He's not dark. He's androgynous. He moves into masculine and feminine. I always call him he because I think he kind of presents as a he on this world because he has to be so strong. But I have had him come in from a feminine perspective also. When we were talking, when I first was introduced to him and I was teaching him about humanity, we were communicating telepathically. He would move in and out of masculine and feminine as I talk about this world, as I educated him on this world, and how he related to me was from a masculine and a feminine perspective, and I related to him on a masculine and feminine perspective, which is, if I think about it, maybe that's why I have this incredibly aggressive part of me and this very feminine side of me. I kind of embody both masculine and feminine, even though I'm in a female body. And maybe that's why I had all brothers and no sisters, but when we engaged each other, we would move, both of us, in and out of this masculine and feminine energy. And so over the years, I think I wanted to bring that up because over the years of maintaining this connection, requesting protection and help in maintaining clear, centered, and balanced energy, and being able to be guided from the most positive place, from the most balanced place, to truly be a paladin of love and light, and connecting always to the divine and allowing that energy to flow through me and articulate from that place, has created a connection that's necessary for transcendence of this world. And so people who are on that similar path will be transcending. But it's a lot of work, it's a lot of commitment to maintain that kind of first balance and then connection. And so every time when I think about this, and I think about the traumas in my life, and I think about my friend and the traumas in his life, the level of darkness that we had to walk through and be exposed to, be tempted by, and sometimes be driven by in order to survive, taught us an incredible amount of compassion and patience for others who are going through that darkness, who are being tempted by that darkness, who are saddened by that darkness. It taught us lessons that we both learned, not without wounds, not without scars, and not without the need for an incredible amount of healing, but it allows us to be healers on this world, because I have found my way out of the darkness, and I have found my way to balance, and I have empowered myself by releasing all the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, shame, sadness, and of many other things, and allowing myself to come from a place of centeredness and empowering myself to heal others. I'm a little bit further ahead on my journey than he is, but he is well on his way. The other thing is, when I've engaged Divinity, Unity in these last few days, she is coming in as a much more feminine, and being raised Catholic, I'm thinking of this divine energy that I was raised calling God, always considered it to be masculine, and I referred to it as he, but this energy is truly androgynous. It's not he or she, and it's not a human. It's the creator of all things in the universe, not just humans. It can present itself as human, as we see humans, but it's not that thing. But she has been presenting herself as female, which I thought was very interesting, and very definitively coming in as female. The other thing is Zako. I've been reaching out to him and asking him for help because I've just been noticing some serious issues with electronics lately. And I think everybody's having the issues with electronics. And I'm like, can you fix this? He's like, nope. He said, nope, that's low level stuff. He's like, I'm not doing that. And he kind of shows me my ex-husband. And Randy's like very, very, very been working in software support for 30 plus years, I think. Yeah, over 30 years. Just very, very good at his job. Just incredible. And you can't get him to do anything basic. You know, he's like, I'm not doing that. It's low level stuff. So he's kind of making a joke at me, and he's just saying, I'm not working on that. That is low level stuff. And I thought that was kind of funny. Give me another second. And so really there's nothing else. Always the raptors come in very strong, and the beings in the water come in very strong. And they always come in just with an incredible amount of support. Just so strong in their support of me, of this planet, of its transition. Very, very strong. Always first, and always just extremely reassuring. And then all the Summer Triangle, the other beings in the universe, just come in support of this world. I think that's it. Thank you.